Hey, thanks for joining us on our Google Plus Hangout on Air with CityYear. I'm Kat Cheney, the Special Projects Editor at NationSwell, and today I'm joined by the co-founders of CityYear, as well as a current core member and an alum. So rather than having me introduce all of you, I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'm sure our audience would. Can you tell us your name, what you're up to, and also what inspires you to serve?
Sure, I'll start. It's Michael Brown. I'm CEO and co-founder of CityYear, and I'm inspired to serve by the amazing young people like Lon and Marissa who are on the session with us today. They make me want to do this, and I've been doing it for 26 years, and it keeps me young and idealistic.
What about you, Alan?
Yes, I'm Alan Casey. I'm co-founder of CityYear and now CEO of Be the Change and co-chair of the Franklin Project. And along with Michael, I'm also inspired by all the young people who sign up to serve in CityYear and AmeriCorps, and especially our young men and women who are serving in our military. I was also inspired by my parents. My father was a doctor and an immigrant. My mother was a nurse, and they raised me with this incredible ethic that we should all try to give back to our great country.
So, Lon, you were out there in Boston today serving in your CityYear jacket. What inspires you to suit up every day?
I'm inspired by the potential of the students, definitely. I think every student has the potential to be great, and we're here to kind of support them reach that potential. So I think that's why I serve.
What about you, Marissa?
Yeah, so I think, Marissa, by the way, I am an alum of CityYear New Hampshire, 07, 08, 08, 09, and currently the Training and Operations Manager at Scholar Athletes. And I think what inspires me to serve is really goes back to a CityYear saying, your commitment brings about the commitment of others, and the idea that I alone can't make as much of a difference as all of these people, you know, all of these sort of alums from CityYear and AmeriCorps together, and that impact is really sort of what inspires me to have served in the first place and to continue to serve.
Great. Now, Alan and Michael, can you guys tell us a little bit more about the mission of CityYear? You know, you guys are part of a network of service organizations. What is the particular void that CityYear fills?
Well, CityYear is it's a national service organization which calls on young people to give a year of service and really help change the world. And Alan and I started this. We were actually assigned to be college roommates together. And when people say to me, oh, I want to start an organization, I always say, well, the best thing you could ever do is find an amazing person that shares your passion and start it with them, because the difference between 1 and 2 is not 1, it's infinity. And I think this all started the day I met Alan Casey. And then I spent some time on Capitol Hill. I took a year off from college and got exposed to the idea of voluntary national service, of calling on Americans when they're young to give a year of service, and all the benefits that would come from it. For them, it would turn on their justice nerve, and it would be a multi-billion-dollar service resource for the country, and it would just change the whole nature of our nation if the most commonly asked question of a young person would be, where would you do your service year? And so Alan and I decided to start CityYear as a demonstration of that, and we've been honored over the years that young people have just signed up in droves and have acted on their idealism, and that's the whole idea of national service, of giving to your country and having your country invest back in you.
And you know, it seems to really benefit not only the communities you're in, but also the young people who are serving, and you know, the examples of people like Marissa continuing service, which I'm eager to hear about that. In fact, Marissa, can you just chime in about how your time in New Hampshire shaped what you're now doing?
Yeah, I mean, my whole sort of path to the position that I'm in now started because somebody said, yeah, we'd love for you to do a training at CityYear. And so the opportunities that you have to really sort of challenge yourself at CityYear and to think differently about what you can become are really sort of how I ended up where I am, and sort of all the skills that you learn to be able to back those things up. So being able to learn how to run a training and learn the operational side of things has really sort of enabled me to continue my nonprofit career, and I quite often find myself looking back at those skills every day and being like, I can't believe I've been out of the course 6 years and I still use X.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alan, I think we lost you for a second, but
Yes,
you're back
I'm
now.
back.
Perfect
Yes.
timing. Because I had a question for you. You know, I read that you and Michael met your freshman year at Harvard, and you know, since then have become friends and partners in what you're doing with CityYear and service more broadly. Can you talk about, was there a particular moment when you realized, okay, this is really something, like I'm going to devote my life to this, versus just an idea you were kind of playing with?
Well, I think, we started CityYear with a summer pilot program, just 10 weeks with 50 young people from all different backgrounds in Boston. And at the end of that summer program, it was really clear to us that the idea of national service was powerful. We saw young people from all different backgrounds come together. We saw them do things like hold the first Special Olympics for Camp Joy, take a completely abandoned park and turn it into a tot lot, an oasis for children, do groundbreaking projects with the Pine Street Inn and others. And we saw companies come together and sponsor them. We saw people volunteer. We did a big service day that summer, really inspired by our core members who said, we're having such a great experience, but our families and friends don't know what we're doing, so let's do one big service day. Everything that we dreamed about and that people said was possible came together in that summer. So it was really after that that we realized this idea of national service is real and it is powerful. And I think both Michael and I and all of us who were involved in starting CityYear, right after just that 10-week experience, said this can be a life's mission and it can really change the world.
Now, as you guys have expanded from that summer to what you are today, and I'd love for you guys to comment on your growth and the scale today, how have you sort of honed in on the challenges you really want to address? I know, for example, graduation rates in America, that's a big focus of CityYear. Can you talk about what have emerged as your key priorities?
Sure, I can weigh in on that, Kat. When we started CityYear, we really wanted to say to young people that you can literally be the yeast and the bread of all the other nonprofits that are out there and help them all expand what they're doing. We wanted to demonstrate that national service could have an impact in every aspect of nonprofit and governmental initiative. Over time, what we realized was that there was a really unique quality to the ability of core members as near-peer tutors, mentors, and role models to have an impact in schools. So while we were always in schools, we decided about 8 years ago to completely focus in schools. Doing that, Johns Hopkins University came up with a series of studies that found that 1 million students are dropping out of high school every year. And it further found that 12% of the high schools are producing over 50% of the dropouts. So if you concentrated in those high schools and the elementary and middle schools that feed into them, you can have the biggest impact. And then finally it found that you can identify who's likely to drop out by early warning indicators, high absences, poor behaviors, and course failure, literally getting an F in math or English. And so what we realized, if we focus the power of these amazing young people on absences, behaviors, and course performance, exciting students to come to school, tutoring them, mentoring them when they have problems, we can help increase America's urban graduation pipeline. And it's incredibly important because if you drop out of high school in America, it's really a fast track to an underclass in our society. You're 8 times more likely to be incarcerated if you've dropped out of high school than if you've graduated. 3 times to be more likely in poor health and to be unemployed. So, and by 2018, 2/3 of all the jobs in this country are going to require some post-secondary degree. So we need to concentrate on this, and we realize these young people like Marissa and Lon, they're amazing at connecting with kids. And so that's what we've been focused on now.
Yeah, and it seems like, all these problems are connected, but by focusing on schools, you can touch each of these problems.
Exactly.
I was really struck by this quote I saw actually on the CityYear website, which was, to change lives, first you have to change minds. And that just seems like a big part of the approach. Lon, can you talk about your time on the ground? What's a day in the life like for a core member? And when it comes to changing minds and changing lives, if you have any examples that have really stuck with you, we'd love to hear them.
So this is my 2nd year as an AmeriCorps member, proudly serving on the PTC team at the Dearborn in Dorchester. And some of the stories that I know I'm making impact on so at CityYear we focus around attendance, behavior, and coursework. That's what our daily model looks like and our service day. But we start school every morning with morning greeting, and we greet the kids powerfully and enthusiastically. They come off the bus, they're tired, but we really get them excited to go to school, and it's amazing because you see them smiling and they're smirking, trying not to, and you get them pumped for school. Throughout the day, we go into schools, we check on attendance, we call home, get parents engaged, and really try to let parents know that, your kid's not here or they're tardy. trying to get parent involvement. Throughout the rest of the day, I'll support students in English language arts and math. And then during lunch, I also meet with students for lunch buddies. We work on behavior and coaching and just really a lot of relationship building. And then at the end of the day, I'm really able to focus on extended day and then that enrichment space, creating opportunities to learn about the arts, about social justice, and about all these other things that they don't quite necessarily learn in schools.
Sounds like a really fulfilling experience. And I can note from personal experience, I actually mentioned this when we were all getting to know one another, that my brother was a CityYear Corps member in San Antonio, Texas. And what I didn't want to spoil the surprise about is he's now a teacher working in a public school district, completely changed his path from what he was planning on becoming a filmmaker, also a great path. But after spending time with those kids and seeing the difference he could make in the classroom, he's now teaching in Colorado Springs. So yeah, I've definitely seen the power of the program. We asked people to chime in on Twitter around the Service Year hashtag with questions. And one of those questions, and I'd pose this to Michael or Alan, but of course, you know, Marissa or Lon, you guys can chime in too if you have thoughts. Where do you guys see CityYear in 5 years, in 10 years? And I would add to that, what does success look like?
So I'll share on that. We recently stepped back and asked, how does this scale, and what's the biggest impact that we could have with our focus in high poverty schools? Mm-hmm. And we put together a long-term impact plan that we announced with Secretary Arne Duncan 2 years ago. And basically what we're seeking to do is that for every school that we're in, we want to ensure that at least 80% of the students are on track, don't have any of those early warning indicators. Mm-hmm. The average on-track performance in most high-poverty schools in urban America is about half, 40 to 50%. So we want to double the number of students that are on track to graduate in the schools we're in. Secondly, we want to reach a majority of all the students in every city we're in that are deemed as off track according to these research-based metrics. And then finally, we want to grow to new cities that have high dropout problems until we're reaching the cities that are producing 2/3 of all the urban dropouts in the country. So today we've got about 3,000 Corps members, CityYear AmeriCorps members, serving in 260 schools across the country. We want to be serving in around 1,200 schools. We currently serve around 150,000 students. We want to serve 850,000 students over the next 10 years. And we'll need a core of over 10,000 CityYear AmeriCorps members to do it. So that's our long-term impact plan. It's a very big hill to climb. But with these amazing young people and the impact they're having, we think we can get it done.
So it sounds like you guys are going to be creating opportunities to serve, but we still don't necessarily have that expectation to serve in this country. And I know that that is a big goal of, you know, the Franklin Project at the Aspen Institute as well as CityYear. For anyone who wants to chime in on this question, I know that a big CityYear goal is that, you know, the most commonly asked question of an 18-year-old in this country will be, where will you do your service year? Why would our country be a different place if that were the case?
I'll start. Well, actually, go ahead, Lon.
I think it's so important for young people to serve because it really connects us to the greater world. Like we often look to ourselves, but we don't get that we're connected everywhere. We need to connect to our communities, our schools, our country, our everyone. We're all connected, and service brings that in people. We all become a part of something so much bigger than ourselves, and service allows that. We get to address the issues that affect all of us, that affect our neighbors, that affect the future of our children someday. So being able to serve, it's such a powerful thing because we get to make our country better and make our people better.
And I think that a year of service changes you, and so for me to look at sort of the path that I've taken, or to hear about your brother changing and becoming a teacher, those stories happen all the time. I have, you know, in addition to myself, there are 6 other CityYear alums that work at Scholar Athletes and continue to make that impact in schools here in Boston and in Springfield. And so for us to be able to sort of find the way that we can continue to make an impact is so key, and will continue to sort of grow the opportunity that a year of service provides.
I would also add, Kat, that we still revere the greatest generation of our grandparents and great-grandparents. And they became the greatest generation because they served together en masse. First fighting the Depression, and then in World War II, men went into the military, women went into the workforce, everybody was doing tin drives and rubber drives and volunteering, and it changed our country in so many powerful ways. Well, if we had a year of service as a common expectation, every generation would become a greatest generation, and young people want to serve. AmeriCorps is flooded. There was a report just this week about the Peace Corps applications up 70%. So we need to answer this call of this idealistic generation. It will change our country in profound ways. Within 20 years, there will be no majority race in America. We need to find a way that's going to tie us together as a country, and national service does that. We have all these problems, and we've seen with CityYear on the high school dropout crisis, with the CORE network working environmental work, LIFT doing anti-poverty work. Young people can be a solution to solve these problems. So it's cost effective, and mostly we see the dysfunction in Washington. We need to recapture that service ethic, starting at the grassroots with all young people in this country, and I think it will also change our political system. So it's, to me, Michael, all of us on this call, it's a no-brainer, but we got to rally the country. People have to stand up for it. Every time they see somebody running for any political office, they should say, do you support national service for all young people? And if they don't say yes, then you should say, well, why not? Because we need it.
And also, what are you going to do about it? You know, that's another big question. So if people are listening to this and inspired to take action, there are a couple things they can do. Take action on the story to learn more about the Franklin Project and the service year. Share this video with others so that people can, you know, hear from the CityYear team about, you know, the power of this program and other programs like it. And then for those who are really interested in CityYear in particular and want to get involved, what are the next steps? What's your call to action?
So, Kat, people can, if you're 17 to 25 years old, we hope you'll consider applying for the Corps. We're currently recruiting for the 2015-2016 Corps right now. Or if you know of an idealistic young person, send them a link to it and say, take a look at this. You can also go to voicesfornationalservice.org, which is a coalition that we're a part of and many other organizations are a part of, which is all about a clearinghouse of information about AmeriCorps, federal support for it, and how you can get involved in terms of really speaking up and saying that one day that most commonly asked question should be, where we do your service year, and this is a way of supporting it in Washington, D.C.
Sounds great. Hopefully we can all work toward that goal together. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and thanks for what you're doing for the country.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Kat.